Lynn Simons. The show is The Flip Side. And today I brought a couple of people that have known each other for a long time. They're in business together and they run a small business. And it's the printing business, which when I first graduated from college, I was in the printing business.
Really?
And I printed my wedding invitations on a block print.
Wow.
Nice job.
Right? And it was...
That's great.
It was fun. It was great. So, but I also realized just how much since my wedding this industry has changed and how difficult it is to compete. So introduce yourselves.
We are Ron and Jane Dupont, and we are co-owners of Park Print on Lovell Street in Worcester. We've been there now for 16 years.
Right, but you've been in business for
30 years.
30 years.
And counting.
Right.
Still going.
So, and you're Jane. So tell me, how did you... you're kind of a likely but unlikely pair to get together.
I know. Some people often ask that. The
Right.
yin and yang, maybe.
Yeah, right.
But we did. We met at Assumption College the very first day of school when they had women, the first class of
so
women.
you were students.
We were students.
Oh, my God.
And he was
Yeah.
a class ahead,
Yeah.
introducing...
An older man.
Yeah.
Yes. Introducing himself in the class, you know, in the first class of women. So he was in our group, and we met, spent a lot of the day with the group together. And at the end of that day, we went to church at Mass, and then he asked me to marry him.
There you are.
That
How
was it.
appropriate is that?
How fast is that, right?
He makes his mind up.
Boy,
Of
let me
course
tell
I
you,
said
he
no.
couldn't wait till women got to campus. He was
There
looking
you
for
are.
a wife.
Where have you been all
That's
this
what I
time?
said to him, too. But I didn't come here to get married.
So how did you feel as a bunch of guys getting women on campus? Was that a
Well,
popular...
we used to have these get-togethers with, Becker College and Anna Maria. We'd have mixers, and, you know, it's always kind of strange when either you're going to a school like Anna Maria, where there's like maybe 24 guys walking into this mixer that has like 200 women.
Yep.
And I was always very shy and reserved, believe
Yeah, I
it
can
or
tell
not.
that.
So
In some ways, yeah,
it was
that's
always tough.
Yeah,
And when the women arrived on campus, this was like, God, this is a godsend. You don't have to go looking for them; they're already here.
Right. Schools. Assumption, we had a lot of schools here.
Right.
Holy Cross
Holy
was
Cross was
all
the
men.
same way, yeah.
Assumption was all men.
Yep.
Anna Maria was all women. Becker was all
female.
female. Right, and Worcester State was just teaching,
Right.
and men didn't
Smaller
go
school.
smaller school and didn't even go think about going into teaching.
Right.
So,
right.
so now, what made you decide to go to Assumption?
You know, I decided very late, like in June.
Uh-huh.
It was just a few circumstances, and I went up there to see the school. And I thought, you know, I'd really like to go here. And I talked to my mother about it, who was a graduate of Worcester State. She was kind of pushing Worcester State.
Public versus private education.
Right,
You know?
but I liked the smallness of it.
Yeah.
And I'm also French.
Yeah.
And I thought, you know, I could continue with my French studies. I wanted to be a librarian at the time. So I thought,
yeah, perfect place then.
it was a good school. And I lived at home, so it wasn't as expensive as if you lived there and all that.
So how many women entered with you, roughly?
I think there were just a little over 100, right?
Wow.
Women were 173.
Oh,
wow.
I would know these things.
You would know. There were 173 women?
173 women in
Go
the
through.
first
I didn't
class
realize
of
that.
Assumption.
See, he has a long memory, I'm telling you.
If you would ask me that the next day, I would have never remembered that.
That's
And now,
interesting, yeah.
30 years, 40 years later.
So, now you were you were a sophomore?
I was a sophomore.
And you came in as a freshman. So what did you find attractive about Jane that you wanted to marry her?
I don't know. I just thought there was something like uniquely crazy.
It was crazy.
Is something, yeah. She was.
She was kind of fun.
She was like I thought, you know, like the real true hippie freak type. Had the shawl with the hood on it, with the little fringy
Which
things
I made
on
myself.
it, the long brown hair, and you know, just
kind of a wild woman, right?
We used to read poetry and whatnot, and saying, "Wow, I've never seen anything like that in my life." So that was pretty unique.
So what was your answer?
Oh, of course I said no.
Did he ever ask you again?
He asked me every day for years. I would pick it.
years.
He lived
3
off
years.
campus in a one-room place near WPI. He had no hot water. I don't even think you had heat. It
No
was
heat.
just a small room.
No heat. No
And
lights.
Where were you from?
I was from Holyoke originally.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So he was supporting himself.
Of course,
And I'd see him thumbing his way up Salisbury Street, and I'd be coming up Salisbury Street, and I'd, oh, there's that guy again. I'd take pity
Should
on
I
him.
stop and give him a ride, or should I give him a pass? You know, it's only snowing out, 10 degrees below
Yes, no
zero.
boots.
So I
No
would-
boots,
no
no hat.
hat. That's how he was. So I'd give him a ride, and we'd have coffee in the morning together. And
Yeah.
I didn't date him till the following spring,
That's right.
and then he just wore me down.
Yeah.
And we found out we did have a lot in common, though.
Yeah.
But in
We
my,
actually
you
didn't
did.
date at all for the first year.
Yeah.
After the first day when I when I met her and we went to mass and I asked her to marry me, we didn't go out. And I asked her every day, and she was dating someone else at the time, which
It was
made
a
it kind
joke,
of
but-
funny, but it was all right.
He just asked.
One of my classmates. It
Right.
was all right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So finally, you decided.
I did. And you know, I don't, my husband is more of a romantic than I am. I always say that.
Right.
And you would think it would be the other
Other
way
way
around.
around,
I
right.
read novels like you would not believe, and I love Regency novels,
Right.
romantic novels are
Right.
fine with me.
Right.
But in my own mind, I thought, you know, you have to be very practical. And this was the time when women's lib was really big.
Yeah, right.
In a way that you don't even see now,
No,
because
right.
we have a lot of the things we
Right.
worked for then. And I
Yeah,
just,
right.
you don't want to give up your own autonomy.
You're right. Yeah.
And
Yeah,
it was
women
really
were
in my
looking
mind.
at relationships very different.
Exactly.
People don't, you know, I say that to my social students. They are clueless about how many changes took place in the 70s for women.
Yeah.
I mean, it always gets painted that was abortion. Abortion was just so
That was just
minor
one thing out of
Yeah.
a whole bunch
It
of
was
things.
about reproductive rights. It was about equal pay, health
Right.
insurance, being independent. It was so many things involved.
There's so many. And really that whole idea of the glass ceiling, they mention that now,
Right.
but back then it wasn't mentioned, but it was
Right.
really there.
It was,
Even in
yeah.
academia,
Right.
everything,
Right.
in all aspects
Right.
of life.
Yep, any place. And the sad part is that it was just a report on that the only women that reach or get close to the glass ceilings or get comparative pay are single women.
Yes.
There's a bias against
Yes.
women with children, which
Right.
is so ridiculous.
Yes, that's true.
You know, we have so many crazy ways that we treat our children.
Right.
We take education away from them. We take funding away from them. We don't support their mothers. I mean, it's
Ugh.
just
The United States is really backwards when it comes to child care.
right?
Yes.
Parental
in a lot
rights,
of,
all that
all
stuff.
those things.
All
It
those
could be
things.
so much simpler.
Yeah, definitely.
But I was lucky that when I did have children, I was able to bring them to work.
100%, and that's what kids, you know,
They loved it.
of course they loved it. And the other thing, too, is when I used to run my office, I always let mothers bring their babies to work. I mean, first of all, they were worried about it. They were going to put it in somebody else's care. And we loved having a baby around. It's
Right.
just kind of nice, you know what I mean?
You don't get a lot of things
Things
done.
Right. Some days better than others.
Some are
Right.
better than others.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, if you have an office, it has to be a safe environment.
yeah.
You're not going to
Definitely.
go in manufacturing,
Manufacturing,
but
right, yeah.
I
Without
think
printing presses,
right?
it was tough. So we had an area that was designated as a
yeah.
child-safe area.
And it's just,
So,
it's
yeah.
not always about the mothers. It's about fathers, too. He
100%.
benefited by
Of
having
course.
his children love
Yeah.
him, and they really connect with him,
Right.
even as an adult, because they worked with him.
Because they saw what he did. It wasn't
Exactly.
a mystery to them. He went someplace every day, and now they knew where he went. Yeah, people, we don't engage enough with our children anymore.
No.
First of all, we put them in car seats with them facing the back.
Back.
I mean, they doze off. I mean, it's like...
It's
And
odd.
you doze
It's
off.
off, right, it's like no connection
There's an,
whatsoever.
often that is the case. And I always tell people that I think we disconnect with our children when they become like 12 or 13
Oh,
years
yeah,
old.
we think
Yeah.
they're
That's
all
very
set.
dangerous.
And that's
they're
the
all
most
set,
important
and they're
time.
not.
Exactly.
That's when they
That's
need
when
you
I
the
teach.
most.
I say that to my
That's the
parents.
most-
No matter how many times they tell you they hate you, you got to hang in there.
You gotta
because
hang in there.
You got to hang
That's
in
right.
there.
And you got to
because-
be present in their lives.
Right. And you got to pick your battles.
That's right.
right.
Pick the ones you think you can win.
Now, you have
'cause-
3 kids.
Yes, we do.
Yeah. And their ages range?
Oh,
34 to 27.
Yeah.
They're,
I'm pretty well preserved. So is she, better
Yeah, right.
preserved than I am.
but yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and they all worked with us
Right.
every
All.
day, just about,
Yeah.
and through high school, and they lived at home during college, which
Yeah.
not everybody would like, but
Right.
I told them you can go to any college in Worcester,
Right.
and
Yeah.
one went to Holy
Okay.
Cross,
As
one
long
went
as you live at
to
home.
WPI, and the other
Yeah.
one went to Quincy,
Right.
and they did their thing.
They've all done
but
well.
They had
Yes,
to
they
work,
have. They're all
and they didn't work
successful.
just for us. All of them worked at other jobs, which I think taught them an awful lot.
Yeah, I think work experience, acquired knowledge is the most important thing. So, and you worked too when you were in school. I mean, you've always been.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
when did you decide to get into the printing business?
Well, I was at Assumption College, and there was a department that was called Central Services. And we were trying to get the school newspaper printed on a more
Professional?
well, not
Yeah.
necessarily professional, because it used to be printed by Saltus Press. It just needed to be more timely.
Right.
Because back in the 60s and the early 70s, you know, things were pressing issues. Every
Right.
issue was a pressing issue.
right.
So you had to have it out in front of the student body
Right.
in a
Yeah,
timely way.
people don't understand how active students were on campus.
Exactly.
exactly.
And how active professors were.
Exactly.
Very.
And to get that out there, we were looking for a method to make our school newspaper, a lot more timely. And the way to do that was for actually the student government bought a printing press
Oh,
and
yeah.
a camera.
Boy,
And
that's-
a
yeah.
friend of mine and myself started
know.
a printing department at Assumption.
Wow.
Yeah.
So many people don't understand how different campuses were.
It was
Wasn't
it was
about
fun,
getting
but
jobs. It was fun.
It was, yeah.
You shared
Intense.
ideas.
And the beauty of it is that became one of the jobs that we had, is that paid us. We worked there literally like 30 hours a week or more. And we were
right.
getting $20 a week
Which
from
was
the
a lot of-
student
government
government
was a lot
to
of
run
fun,
this
that's
place
right,
for the
right.
student newspaper.
Yeah,
That was a lot of money
It was a
back
lot
in
of money, and
1968.
it was a good experience. And
yeah.
did you have any role in the newspaper?
I did. I used to do editing and
Proofreading, probably.
proofreading, and the other thing I did was review things like movies or
Yeah, right.
plays.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's so amazing how much students pay now to go to school,
Isn't it?
and how little practical experience they get, or any kind of socialization. How they get, they miss out so much on our
think they
campus.
do.
I went in the '70s, and when women's rights and the war in Vietnam, and how
Right.
people took stands, and it shapes your life in a different way.
Yeah, it does.
It did.
You
I
know,
think
It
they're
makes
more.
you think deeper about a lot of things
Things
you
about
normally
yourself,
wouldn't consider.
about your relationships, and it makes you think about commitment, how important
Right.
commitment is. And we talked before the show how you told you didn't push for your kids to go into your business,
No,
but just be productive.
that's right.
Right.
Yeah.
I think with the work habits that they got when they were working for us in the business have since proved to be the right work habits to have.
That's
Yeah,
right.
definitely.
Their employers, they tell me all the time that they are very employable because they really work.
So then you decided to go on to develop your own printing company.
I worked for this guy off and on from '73 until 1980, and in 1979, when they moved his company to Park Avenue, he opened a local copy center that we thought we needed to have some local outlet, because the hospital forms industry itself was already on the decline, and we thought that this might be a way for them to get a local footprint. And it didn't work out because he didn't have the concentration on this that it should have had. And he and I eventually developed a parting of the ways mentally as to how the company should be run. So
direction.
I offered to buy the local business from him, which was just a small part of what he had, and he agreed, and that's how we started it as business owners. Park Print was actually in existence for about 15 months before we bought it.
So that's what he had called the company originally.
That's what he called
So
it,
it was
Park
sort of
Print.
incorporated or a partnership already. So
Yes.
that was.
It was already part of another
Part of
business,
business,
and
right.
then we just bought that one piece of
Yeah,
it.
so where were you located when you first began?
Right on Park Avenue,
Right.
go figure.
Oh, Park Print. It makes sense, right?
And we were there for 15 years until we were evicted from the building because they tore it down.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then
so
we moved to Lovell Street.
Now you own that building.
That's
Yes.
right.
Yeah, so that helps too. I mean, you've been good, smart business people for a long time. So you're the guy that figures out the jobs, and what role do you play?
Mostly
Jen?
I do customer service,
you're great
mailings,
at.
a lot of
Right.
all the little ancillary things, and I
Right.
make deliveries. And
Right.
there's a lot of, I just put a different hat on all day long.
Right. Which is
Fill the
interesting.
gaps, yeah.
Fill the gap.
I like it, and I
Right.
like helping. Like today, a young couple who were getting married in Africa came in, and I helped them to find an invitation that was appropriate for the entire village. They'd get 400, stay in their budget, which is a big deal.
Invite one, invite them all. That's the
Right,
way
and
it
they had
works.
to have special wording because of the thing.
Yeah.
And since I'm an English major, I have a good grasp of language, I could help them word that in a nice way, but still get their point across for the wedding. That's what I do.
Right.
Little customer service.
I've been a customer of yours too, and I always find I come in with a thought, and you help me kind of focus it, because it's helpful. And the other thing that you can pride yourself on is you keep your client base. You know, the people that have been with you for a long time.
Forever. Yes.
Right. And it's a good location. It's right off of Chandler there. It's headed up towards the west side.
Yep.
Yeah, it's perfect.
The free parking doesn't
Yeah, free
hurt.
parking. Yeah, right.
It was a
Don't
great.
have to
It
worry
was a
about
great find to
Yeah,
find
it
that
was,
building.
yeah,
It was,
yeah.
and we had a month or so to move, and I happened to take a different way home.
Yeah.
Stopped at what was Little Honey Farms there, and I looked across and I said, "Wow, that's a very nice building. We should ask
Can't
about
afford
it."
But the building's
But we'll
for
ask.
sale.
right.
So
Yeah.
you know, he
It's a
met the
perfect-
owner, and
it's a
the owner.
perfect location.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were
It
lucky
works
that
well
the
for
owner
us.
took a shine to Ron and worked things out with him.
Yeah.
But it was meant to be,
Yeah.
I think.
I think. Well, it sounds like this whole deal was meant to be.
Yeah.
I mean, you were like. You had genius, right?
Well,
there.
I don't know
say
about
he's a
genius.
genius.
I say it's like mental something. But
Right. It was something you
for
just.
the first few years when we were in this business, we literally took home nothing. I mean,
Right.
our paycheck for the first 2 years was $6,000 a year.
Yeah, right.
There aren't a lot of people out there that would even stick with something
Right.
like that. There wasn't. I had also 2 kids at the time.
Right.
You got to wonder how you can do that on $6,000 a year. I wonder
And a
now how
house.
we managed to do that and still keep
Right.
our house.
I
By
had
thinking
good
you
friends,
need a wife
good relatives.
that is understanding
Right.
of a lot of
And
things and willing to
participates.
do it.
Well, yeah, who's a real partner.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
you know, nobody says that magic, happens because
No.
you get married. I mean,
Yeah.
you've been married now, what, 37 years?
37 years.
And you've known each other like 41?
Right.
So, I mean, first of all, it's hard enough to keep a marriage together for 37 years, let alone work together for 41. So what do you think the secret of that success is?
We each have our realms of expertise. When
Right.
it comes to, things that are around the house other than the maintenance, if you want to have things a certain way, I don't have any problems with that necessarily.
Yeah,
And
live and
at
let
work,
live.
I
He's
I
the
have a
boss.
way of doing things.
Right.
And I think she understands after 30 years that I have a way of doing things for a reason.
Right.
So she's my devil's advocate.
That's
when
right.
I come up with an idea, she will certainly chew the hell out of that
Right.
before we
Right.
decide whether
Uh-huh.
we're
Right.
going to do that.
Right.
Or not. And that's
Yeah.
okay, because someone needs to be
Right.
the calming end
Right.
of the
100%.
excitement that I still get some days going
That's
to work.
right. And when it comes to finances, to me, put a lot of people under. And when you don't
100%.
have much money, that strain year after year of not having enough money could be bad. But if you're working together in it,
Right.
he didn't come home and say, "Oh, what did you buy? It was always thought out, and
You
we
talked
kept
about
everything
it.
Yeah,
exactly.
people used to decide together on the
Right.
television.
And I
That's
come
right.
from
Right?
a family
That's right.
like that.
Yep.
My family I have a wonderful family. They're so supportive, and that's the way I was brought up. So it wasn't hard to do.
Yeah, so what we're hearing here is, and I say this to parents all the time, it's how we role model.
Exactly.
It's, and the same consistent message that we send all the time. So you were not only a team at home in your own separate ways, but you were a team at work, and you had the advantage that the kids could come to work. I mean,
Yes.
there were things
That was
All
for them
those things.
that they could do. It wasn't like you had to plow someplace and do something, and Jane had to go
Right.
another place. So,
Correct.
and I would guess, knowing you both, you kind of made a little challenge out of it.
We did.
Yeah.
Well,
We
the
always do.
challenge is like in the mid-1980s when my third son was born, is that I was spending a lot more time at work.
Uh-huh.
And, she confronted me with that and said, you're getting to the point where your kids don't know who you are anymore because you're at work so much.
Right.
So I made the deliberate effort that at 5 o'clock I would go home and
Right.
we'd have supper and
Right.
I'd read them stories and take them outside and play with them.
And if I had to
then
go
when they went to bed, I'd go back to work. They
right.
didn't know I was gone.
On, right, yeah.
He
The
did
only
that.
one who knew was her.
Right. And that's important, that you could confront him.
Right.
and say that. Some people's ego would have said, screw you, I'm working hard, this is
right.
what I'm doing, so on and so forth.
It's always something you can discuss.
Right.
That's how we both out.
Right.
Really,
Hey, listen, the guy
we don't
asked
fight.
you 3 years if he wants to marry you. I guess you got to feel like you really want it,
He
right?
really wants. He knows what he wants.
Or something.
He really is. But he is. I think in a lot of ways we talk about the roles of men and women. Men, in my experience, I have 2 boys. They're more single-minded.
Right.
And they set goals and they and I think
Right.
women can emulate that.
Right.
And it
I
behooves
think
us to do that.
my daughter has emulated that.
Yeah,
She's
right.
very good about.
She
She's
and I
a
have
leader.
talked about that.
Yep.
Right.
And the 2 boys have their own
Yeah.
way of doing things.
Like, I always work with the people I work with, and I say, you have to have a plan. You have to work the plan.
And it's
Things may
they don't work out.
out, but you have to be ready for that, and you don't go crazy. You stop, you think, and you
Right.
take a detour, and so on and so forth.
That's
And
right.
that's the best, I think that's one of the best gifts you can give to somebody,
That's right.
is that you're level-headed, you have crises, but you don't go crazy, and you stay with the program as much as you
That's
can.
right.
right.
My youngest son says those are your tools in your toolbox.
Right.
And it's
100%.
true.
It is true. It is
And
true.
if you have those things, hopefully because of your background,
Right.
you are
Yeah.
brought up with those
Right.
type of tools. Those are gifts
Right.
that you can't even put a price on that. That's
Well,
so
yeah,
good.
because they're things that you have seen work.
Exactly.
And in your particular case, they've had a chance to try them
That's
without,
right.
if they fail, they're going to fall into something responsible, but they're not going to get beat up for it. They're not
Right,
gonna-
right.
You also find out that, a day's work isn't going to kill you at the end
Yeah,
of the day.
True,
100%, yeah.
Right.
You are no worse the wear,
Right.
having done what it is
That's
you're
right.
supposed
To
to
do.
And we do it ourselves. When we bought this other business, we
I'm going to
worked.
ask that. So after being in business for how many years before you decide to
We
expand?
were in business for 29 years.
29 years, the economy's going south, things aren't happening, and you guys decide to expand.
We have this genius idea that maybe we should be bigger.
Right.
The whole ploy was to see if
No
we...
vacations for 27
No,
years.
27 years with 2 days off. How
right.
bad can it be?
Hey, right.
We decide, because we talked about it, with the other owners of the other business for well over a year, that, the whole key to success in this business or any other is either you grow or you die.
Right.
Well, I think based on the amount of people that we had working for us, which is Jane and myself, we had gotten as big as we were ever going to get.
Right.
We just couldn't handle
No,
anymore
right.
between
Yeah.
the 2 of us.
Yeah.
And there was another printing company that I knew the business owners were looking, not necessarily to get out of business, but at least to get some help.
Right.
And we started talking to them at Jane's inspiration that maybe we should talk to them about a merger.
Right.
And over the course of 12 months or better, I guess they decided that a
Right.
merger wasn't in their best interest. They just wanted to get out of it altogether.
Right. Yeah.
So we just bought
Right.
them out.
And the backbone of this country is small business.
That's right.
And to be independent and, like you say, Ron, not make a killing, but make a living. Have
Right.
something left
no
over
one,
at the end
no
of
one
the day.
wants to retire. Well, I'd like to retire a rich man, but it's not going to happen.
Right.
I would just like to be able to retire and be relatively comfortable for the amount of time that I put into this.
Right, yeah.
We
100%.
don't work 40-hour weeks. Most small business
Oh,
owners work
60
60
to
or
80,
70
70,
hours
or maybe
a
even
week.
80 hours.
I
a
work
week.
7 days a week
Yeah,
still.
right.
I mean, I know I still get vacation time,
Right.
which I never did before.
Right. Uh-huh.
But I am still at work
Right.
on Saturday
Yeah.
and sometimes
Yeah.
on Sunday morning
Well,
as
I know
well.
myself now. I work 7 days a week all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the time. And it's and it's like, here's the thing, and I bet you find it the same way because we were sort of raised the same way. It makes no sense.
No.
It
It
drives you
doesn't.
crazy. If
We're
you
all-
allowed yourself, finally about a year ago, I said, Lynn, give up this making sense.
Right.
It doesn't-
I have said the
doesn't
same
make
thing.
It makes no sense at all. And that is so tiring because you can come up with solutions so easy.
We have to come up with solutions
Right?
every day.
Because we can't, the system makes no sense. The system is so broken, and they try to tell us that we're broken.
Right.
Exactly.
And we have so many people in America like yourselves that in spite of this broken system have you know, continue to have good relationships with your children. Now you have a grandchild. What's her name?
Fiona.
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 God bless your daughter.
Yes, ma'am.
Fiona.
Fiona.
How do you spell that?
It's Fionna.
Oh, Fiona.
Yeah.
Have fun with
Yeah,
that.
I think
Teachers will have a wonderful time with that.
it means the same, I guess, in Gaelic as Julie means in Latin.
All right.
Out of light or of the light. So
All right.
that's why they chose that. But
She's an
Yeah.
interesting
She
kid.
is a handful.
Now, she's your oldest, right?
my daughter.
Julie is
yeah.
is the middle child.
She's the
middle
middle,
child.
yeah.
She's
the
yeah.
middle child.
But
She's
she's
unique.
She's going
Right.
through that whole thing with being a mother,
Yeah.
and she's the head doctor person in this research facility.
right.
And she has to meet with. I don't think there are any women in her.
I'm sure they're all men.
She's it,
Yeah,
except
she's
for one
everything.
secretary.
Right.
She's
So,
it.
And
it's
see,
a
she
little
had no
difficult.
kids for a while, and she was single for a while.
Right.
Then
She
they-
worked really
they
hard
hide.
to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
But
Yeah, and so you say it every day. Come on.
what's wrong?
What's wrong?
I know. And you know, it's hard to. We discuss this so often with our children. You know, having breakfast, you were discussing the politics and the life in general, and we're all becoming quite cynical. It's too bad. We don't
Yeah.
want to be.
We don't want to be, but
My
you know,
husband has a master's degree in political science.
Science, right.
He thinks about all these things.
Me too. I think about them all the time. I have a minor in political
But
science.
do you feel cynical about politics now?
No, I don't feel cynical. I just feel too honest. So when I'm honest, they think I'm cynical.
That's right.
And you know
Exactly.
That makes sense.
See, they kind of have the success of the Bush administration has been that they don't call you Irish or Jew or this or that. They take on they defeat your ideology. So in other words, they will say, "Oh, that's because she's cynical."
Yeah.
So that being cynical is worse than being a Jew.
That's right.
You see what I'm saying?
If you're cynical, they don't have to address your
that
problems.
problem, right? And they don't have to say they're racist or they're anything else
Right.
because now they've determined that
That's
you're
right.
cynical.
That's
And I
right.
have to say to people all the time, no, I'm just honest, and I'm trying to warn you that this isn't working.
That's right.
And-
Well, you know, honesty is a highly held commodity these
Not at all,
days.
you know.
No, it's-
And you know, the other day they had a poll saying that how many people think that other people lie, and of course the poll was like 55%, 60%. They said no, and I think the reason they said no is that they lie, but they don't get caught. And so, you know, America, unfortunately, is built on lies. And now here we are, just perpetrating more and more. So,
That's right. You don't need to go any further than the State House
No, no.
and talk about ethics and politics in
and
the same
values,
breath.
yeah.
Please.
I mean, how can you have a country built on religious freedom and not want a mosque?
Right. Where's the point of that?
Exactly. I mean, instead of saying no to the mosque,
Right.
what you should be welcoming the mosque
of
and
course.
a Jewish temple,
Temple,
a Catholic church, and build them all side by side.
You know,
Right.
same thing.
And at least use the occasion as a teaching tool
100%.
of
Absolutely.
acceptance.
Right, yeah.
Why not?
Everything should be teaching.
You know,
So,
to say
Right.
that you know, the Muslims drove the planes into the World Trade Center is
Well, we
almost
should
the
say-
same as saying the Jews are responsible for crucifying Jesus.
That's right, which
It's
is
the
even
same
true.
thing.
Same thing. Or it's the same thing as saying that, you know, every Catholic's a bum because there's pedophiles.
That's right.
That's right.
Right?
Now, you'd think we'd be over
Yeah, I
this
think
by now.
Yeah, we've never had the discussion, though.
No, we haven't.
We've never
We
had the
haven't.
discussion.
Because people can't be honest about that.
Right. Yeah, there
There's too many
yeah.
prejudices going in to have an
Yeah,
honest
definitely.
discussion.
So we have just about a minute left. So what would you like to say? Let's say Park Print.
Pack print. Buy now, save later.
It's a great, you just stop in if you want a quote.
Right,
And they do
right.
great work,
We
great
do-
turnaround,
Right.
very
We do
efficient.
everything.
You do
We
everything.
consider ourselves problem solvers.
You are,
For
100%.
so
That's
many
right.
people.
Yeah, they need something done. They just don't know where to go.
That's right.
And you always have an answer there.
Oh.
And it's always friendly, and there's always a piece of candy.
We're always trying to save you $1 if we can.
And we
There's-
talk politics while
all
you're
the
there, too.
time.
And that's why I wanted you on the show.
I don't get a lot done in the course of the day. That's why I have to work 7 days a week.
It's always good,
You
always
have a lot
good
of a good
conversation.
sense of humor.
And I just want to say congratulations on you're a great couple, a great pair, and I'm really delighted you were on the
Thanks.
show.
Thank you.
And
Thank
you've
you
done
for
a
having
great
us.
job with your business and with your kids, and I wish you many years of joy together.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for coming. Appreciate it.